it's not so much us handling the day-to-day of, okay, is this unit leased, but it's more me and Mike like looking on the acquisition side, like what's the next territory we want to go? Do we just want to scale in this market? And then also other businesses. We're starting to get into a little bit of hospitality. So we have a couple of deals that are in the pipeline that deal a little bit more on the Airbnb side. So we're starting to create verticals out of the stuff that we've already developed insight in over the years. It's just really exciting kind of where we've come. But not so much day to day on like the property management side. It's more of just like kind of overseeing, more of like a board is what we kind of call it, so to speak.
Most people think saving money is the answer. But the truth is, saving only gets you to zero. Join Mike and Zach as they flip the script from saving to earning, from zero to unlimited potential. Welcome to Save to Zero.
Everybody, welcome to episode 10 of the Save to Zero podcast. We are here with Matt Hitchcock from Commonwealth Collective. He's actually one of our clients. We've done a bunch of deals together over the past few years. And I know on your own and with partners, you guys own and manage around 1,000 rental units with $150 million assets under management. So Matt, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so like we were talking about beginning, we kind of focus on mindset and people's attitude around money. And a lot of that takes people to being a business owner. So how did you get started into real estate? Because most people don't set out to do real estate when they go to college or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely didn't necessarily. So kind of, I think my backstory and where I started, I had an uncle that was involved in real estate. And, just over the years of being at Thanksgiving and Christmas, he would kind of randomly talk about it. It's almost funny because I think of him almost like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Instead of it being the dad, it was like the rich uncle. Okay. So he would be at the table and he'd kind of be talking about investing and all these things. And, most of my family was not business owners or didn't really invest in any of that type of stuff. So kind of fast forward after college, I was working my normal W-2 job. And you guys obviously know Michael Ketchen, my business partner, and Hannah Ketchen. We started talking about, just trying to do a side hustle of some kind. But the side hustle always seemed to be some form of real estate. We thought real estate investing was flipping houses, which we started to learn that's really not that's just a grind. It's just another job, really. It's not exactly investing as much. And then we listened to Bigger Pockets, and then that's kind of where we went in terms of starting the company. But honestly, it's funny how life goes. Again, I initially I lived at home until about 26, 27, because I simply did not want to pay somebody else to live. So I learned early on about house hacking and, trying to safeguard my money to a certain degree to try and give myself a leg up in terms of most people my age. So I did a house hack with a property in Haverhill, Massachusetts. It was a 3-family, lived in the second unit, rented out the first and the third unit, and then it actually had 2 garages on premises, so I rented those out as well. So I was living completely free, and I was making some money on the top, which was great. And then had that conversation with Mike about, just trying to do that side hustle, because he's like, well, you're doing a little bit of real estate investing. Let's maybe do some other stuff. And then fast forward, we've gone into a major company. So it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, that's cool. What was your W-2 job?
So I started out at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which I would advise anybody that's looking for an employee, anybody that comes out the management training program. That's a great program to find people's resumes. It's just it's a hustler's mentality job. I mean, and it related really well to leasing apartments and to operating a rental company in general, because your goal is to never have any cars on the lot. So think of it almost like an apartment building, like you want to have all your units rented. But you have a very dangerous game because you're like, well, I want to have inventory, but I also want to have all the units rented. If I have all the units rented, though, am I being too cheap with how much I'm getting for rent?
Sure.
So it's a balancing act that way. Maintenance involved. You have to make sure you're on top of getting maintenance on the vehicles. So we would be super low on inventory, and there's a car that has an oil change that needs to be done. So you're trying to figure out a way to get the oil change done quick and then re-rent it. So it was just a very chaotic job, but I think it suited me very well for transitioning over into real estate and actually property management, which is one of our niches, because I feel like most people that invest in real estate don't necessarily manage their own properties. They kind of pass that off to somebody else.
Are all of your units owned with your partner, or do you have some on your own that you started with before you guys partnered up?
Yeah, so that three family is the one that I own by myself. And then starting to get now a little bit more into some Airbnbs, but primarily the multifamily aspect is all owned by myself, Mike Ketchen, and
How did you guys get together as partners? How'd you meet each other?
I met them when I met Mike first. I actually went to school with his middle brother, Teach, and great friends through high school. And then, it's funny how people transition, you meet new people. I met Mike around 16. He actually was giving me and Tej a ride to Blockbuster to go get video game. Definitely not having any real estate or anything on the radar. We were just goofing off, being normal teenagers. But that's my first interaction.
Wait a minute, Blockbuster, you're old.
I know, right?
I remember that to go rent a video game. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. On a Friday night, it was the best. You go over there, then you hit Domino's, you come back with a Mountain Dew, and then you crush N64. It was great. Yeah. But yeah, that was so he was able to drive a lot sooner than we were. So I met him at 16. I think that's one of the dynamics that works really well, because I think there's a lot of people that go into business together that, you might meet somebody for a couple of years and you think they're fine, or you meet them right away and you're like, well, this person has a ton of experience. I'm just going to partner with them. We just had a long-standing relationship way before business was even involved. So we've already known our characteristics for, at that point, it was over 10 years. And we've just always gotten along well, communicated really well. He runs at a certain pace. I run at a certain pace. We just kind of complement each other, as well as Hannah as well, because she kind of keeps everybody all organized. Me and Mike are just like out here doing this whole thing, and then she's the one that's like, all right, guys, but we got to bring it back to you.
So you guys do in-house property management. I always hear two sides of that. People who do it wouldn't do it any other way. People who let somebody else manage it, and they don't want to deal with it at all. So tell me, why is it that you guys choose to do it in-house? What product?
Yeah, I just think that we have a better pulse on our product than other people. So I think the people that are saying that they wouldn't go the property management or do the internal property management route, I think they may or may not be buying a better quality asset. Like maybe they're buying an A-class asset. And at some point, if we go down that road and we get to an A-class asset, it might be one of those conversations where you do outsource it. Right now, we buy C-class, like multifamily value add. And our thought well, first of all, when we first started, it really came down to dollars and cents. We didn't have the money to hire property management company.
That makes the choice easy, right?
Yeah, we got a 13-unit apartment building, and we were like, all right, well, I managed my 3-family in Haverhill, so how hard can it be with another 11 residential units and 2 commercial units? Like, it can't be that much more involved. And honestly, if you put the right systems in place, like we've really leaned into technology. We've done clear-cut systems. One of the things that we've decided, the first ever time we closed on that 13-unit apartment building, which was the first multifamily we did, was downtown Manchester. They're 300 square foot studios. We're at the closing table and we get a big bag of keys. And we're like, this is wild. Like, this is nonsense. Like, we're not going to be carrying these keys around. So immediately we switched everything over to keyless entry. So we put doorknobs on that had like the keypad on it. And that allowed us the flexibility, one, to not have the keys, which was crazy. 2, you could program it with multiple different codes. So you could do it for your tenants. You could also do it for our maintenance. So our maintenance would be able to have access to go in. If an agent for some reason had to go on site, or an insurance person had to go on site, fire inspectors, whatever it was, that made it a lot more flexible than us always having to drop whatever we were doing, try and show up with someone, provide keys, coordinate all those things. So leaning into technology from the start was really the biggest way that we wanted to be in-house self-managing, again, because we didn't have money, but on top of which it just seemed like it made logical sense. I would say, too, because of the C-class like value add that we do, we have a better pulse on what's going on with the property, meaning our goal is we buy it for X, we're going to rehab and fix up the units. And then at the end of that business plan, we want to refinance and then do a cash out refinance so we can reinvest. If you're relying on a property management company to execute a business plan, that's not always going to be the case. They have however many people in their portfolio of their business. And what happens is, and I've run into it, the building that we first bought, the Manchester one, those guys that sold it to us, they reached out to us, I don't know, probably a year later, and they're like, "Hey, how's that building going that we sold you?" "Oh yeah, like your rents that were 700, we're getting like 1100 for them now." And they're like, "What? You guys are getting 1100? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, we fixed it up and we just put in new people at market rents." "Oh, well, do you want to check out our other two buildings that are down the street and see if you can like help us manage those?" So we went. So we showed up. It's Manchester. I know what we're renting our apartments for. They had 6 vacant units, and they were a lot nicer than ours. And I was like, "Guys, what's wrong with these units?" And they're like, "I don't know. Our property manager's saying they just can't rent them." To me, they probably tried renting it for one, maybe a higher price, or two, they just weren't paying attention. They had too many other prospects in their portfolio that they were just the low men on the totem pole, didn't really care. So that was like our first experience with like the industry and property management. And we were like, we're not ever going to go this route.
So do you have, once you get it stabilized, obviously you're hiring GCs or trades to stabilize the property. Once it's stabilized, do you have in-house maintenance people or are these 1099 people?
Yeah, good question. No, we have so a little combination of both, depending on where we are territory wise and how many units it is. Like Manchester right now, we have like one central 1099 maintenance guy that's on premises. He's actually more of our like head of maintenance for all of our portfolio. And then we'll have what's called bogs. We'll have like boots on the ground. And they're like different people that we have in the area that can facilitate most of the work that needs to be done at the properties. Generally speaking, we try not to hire someone full time. Most of the time, once we go in and we rehab everything, if we do it correctly in the first place, we're trying to mitigate a lot of maintenance stuff initially. Of course, Manchester is a lot of older buildings, so there are things that come up. But for the most part, we try and have like those boots on the ground that just facilitate things as they come up.
So you have properties outside of your immediate area. If I'm not mistaken, you've got Missouri, Ohio, is off the top of my head from what I remember. How are you finding maintenance people in those areas if you don't have a large footprint?
Yeah, good question. So again, we kind of treated it the same as New Hampshire. We were like, when we started in New Hampshire, we probably built up to about 400 apartments. And what we found was the systems that we had in place, we were like, there really is no reason why we can't duplicate this process across the country. We're doing all the same. So we have all this technology in place. We have all these systems in place. So it just seems like it doesn't matter if we're here in New Hampshire or we're closer in Ohio, as long as we have that primary boots on the ground person, it should be fine. So we have our property management software. We use RealPage. So anybody that has a maintenance issue, I mean, they're going to put it into the system. From there, it dispatches out one to our head of maintenance who's located in New Hampshire, so we can kind of monitor and make sure everything's getting closed out when it needs to be. And then two, usually when we close on a property or we go see a property, they generally speaking have a maintenance person that's established and already on site. So depending on that person, usually when we close on a property, we'll keep them for 30 days. We'll kind of vet their process and see, if they're worth their weight. If they're not, then we usually get rid of them. Or like in that period of time, we might be interviewing other maintenance people to see if they can facilitate. Or we'll get just a contractor that's on in the area and we'll say, hey, if we ever have a plumbing issue that comes up, if we ever have an electrical issue that comes up, would you be willing to come on site and take care of things? And then also we do our clean, safe, readies, which is kind of a tribute to one of our team members, PJ. He came from Starbucks. And that was one of their sayings is clean, safe, ready. Like, is the branch clean? Is it safe for the customers? And is it ready for anybody that's coming in to purchase, coffee? We kind of apply that same mentality to our properties where we have someone that generally speaking goes usually twice a week and they run a clean, safe, ready protocol, or at least once a week. And they'll just verify and make sure that like, okay, there's no debris or there's no trash on the ground. Everybody's throwing away their stuff the way they're supposed to. We do light checks too, to try and mitigate one, liability. Two, if a property is dark, then it usually makes it so you have like nefarious behavior that can come about. So we try and make sure we have lights and things like that are always being checked constantly to help with those some of those things. So really, honestly, the same process that we do in New Hampshire, there really isn't any special sauce. It's the same thing we do in New Hampshire. We just do it across the country, utilizing our technology and dispatching it out to our point of contact that we end up finding once we end up purchasing in that other location.
Well, sure. I mean, Ray Kroc did it with hamburgers.
Yeah.
You work up your systems locally, you figure it out, and then you just roll it out nationwide. And if it works for hamburgers, why not? And ultimately, McDonald's doesn't sell hamburgers. McDonald's owns real estate. That's where the money is.
Exactly.
Yes, they do.
100%.
Yeah, but that's very interesting. Cool.
So when
Go
you're
ahead, Zach.
with your uncle, your uncle kind of got you into real estate and business, and now you guys, you don't do like, I feel like most real estate investors, they buy 2-3 families all the time, right? When you're with your uncle, like, how did that go? How'd your relationship with him kind of change when you started buying these big properties? I mean, did he like just talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. No. So, unfortunately, he didn't get the chance to see really like like where we're at now in terms of like how big a properties. At the time, I think I had like 26 units, I think, under my belt when he was still around. But for him, still the same thing. He was only buying like a 3-family here, a condo here, a 4-unit here. Like it wasn't the same. We just found that when we started getting into it, we're like, well, why did we play so small? Like we have the ability. It doesn't seem like that much of a difference between buying a 3-family or a 4-family versus a 10 or 13 unit. Like if we have the opportunity to buy it, if we can raise the capital for it, if we can roll the money that we have from some of our other deals or our other equity into a bigger property, it doesn't make sense to really hang around with the smaller stuff. We were trying to go at scale because we knew if we went to that scale, now you have the opportunity, to your point, Mike, you can hire like that head of maintenance. So when we were there, we didn't hire him right away, but we contracted a person. They kind of helped us out. Once we grew into like 40 or 50 units that were all within that Manchester metro, that allowed us the flexibility to be like, okay, we can have a head of maintenance that's really going to take on all of this work. So that's kind of how we looked at it. We were like, let's scale. And now at this point, it's like, all right, well, the 50 to 100 units aren't super enticing to us. Now it's the next level. It's like, okay, we're looking at like 150 plus type units.
I mean, everybody always says, right, they wish they went bigger sooner in terms of buying multis. And
yeah,
it makes a lot of, and you get those economies of scale. And like if you're doing heavy value add, like you said, it makes a lot of sense to have that management, that maintenance in-house.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to Mike and you ask him the question, he's like, we were still playing small buying 13 units. we should have been starting with like 40 units. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, but the thing is, though, you dip your toe in the water and you say, okay, this wasn't that bad. And everything you thought in your head that was going to happen. I know I did a loan one time. The largest loan I had done was $450,000. And then I had somebody who, oddly enough, lives in New Hampshire. He was doing a large purchase. He did a large raise, and he had $4 million that evaporated 24 hours before closing. That person was supposed to sell a property. It didn't go through, so he was out $4 million. He had 24 hours to raise it because they had $1 million that went hard. And to add to the fun and the spice of the situation, the seller would not give them an extension. For 2 reasons. One, he knew he already had $1 million, and secondly, somebody offered him more than he had agreed to sell it to these guys for. So my buddy was on the phone and he's doing his thing. He called me the next day and he needed $2 million by 5 o'clock, and he was gonna, he said, how much, whatever you have, I'll take, and we'll tie it up any way you want to collateralize it. And I said, well, I think I have the $2 million. And I had never done a $2 million loan before, but I was kind of flexing that, gee, I got $2 million. I think I could do this. Then when I got off the phone with him, I vapor locked. I'm like, oh my God, you're going to send $2 million to one guy?
Yeah, I know, right?
Even though I had the capital, I had never done it. I wanted to spread it out. And long story short, we were able to pull together a $2 million loan in 6 hours.
That's wild.
And when I sent the wire, I put the information in for the wire, and I copied and pasted it off of the sheet that he gave me. I called, I confirmed the number. I happened to be at a mastermind for private lenders. I had somebody else come out and read it to make sure that I put it in right, even though I copied and pasted it, because I was so stressed out about it. And 5 minutes after I sent it, I called the title company and said, did you get it? Well, when did you send it? 5 minutes ago. And she said, sir, it takes about 30 minutes to get to us. It's got to go to the Fed. And you're, okay, well, I've never sent a loan this big.
$2 million, man.
Yeah.
Of course I'm checking on it.
I said, I've never spent a loan this size before. So I need a little grace here. Can you call me when it comes in? She said, oh, absolutely. I didn't know. Yeah, I'll call you. So she called me like 15 minutes later. She said, it's in. I said, oh, thank God.
I still get nervous with wires. I hate them. So, I mean, it's just the cost. Like, you have to do them for business-wise, but I hate them so much.
Yes, me too.
I get so nervous every time. I'm always double checking and always making sure. And it's just, yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you mean about as far as, I could have gone bigger. Now, if I send out a $2 million loan, I can do that. I double check everything and I make sure everything is correct, but I don't get sphincter lock anymore.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Somebody, and then you do $100,000 loan and you're like, I really got to do all this work, the same amount of work, right?
Mm-hmm. $20,000 draw? Okay.
Yeah.
What a waste of time.
And another thing that I know you guys do a lot of is technology. You mentioned it a little bit, but some of the stuff I think you guys do with like the remote showings and stuff is really cool. So talk about how that, I'm sure it saves money too, but I think more so lets you guys position your product, so to speak, more competitively.
Yeah. So it's a good point. So kind of rewind a little bit. So when COVID happened, that was really how contactless showing started and keyless entry kind of started. So we put keyless entry on before and that was fine. But I was still like usually going on site and showing a unit to people. Then COVID happened and then we still had vacancies. Nobody wanted to meet in person. But to us, like the world stopped. We really didn't stop our day-to-day operations. We were like, all right, well, we know people still need a place to live and we will still want to make revenue. So this should be an easy solution to solve. So all we did was we were like, all right, well, we're going to roll the dice and we're going to give people a code that's going to give them access without us ever meeting them, which is kind of crazy when you tell people that. They're like, well, aren't you worried somebody's going to damage the unit? They could in theory, but we still have cameras that are up so you can see who goes in. And ultimately, it's a 300 square foot studio apartment that generally speaking, someone's in theory, unless they're really nefarious and they want to do damage, I don't see how someone's just going to go in and trash an apartment really for no reason and never meeting me or talking to me just for the fun of it. So anyways, we rolled the dice. We gave people a contactless code and I was like, hey, you're going to go to XYZ building. You're going to go up the stairs. You take a right. It's unit 3. You press this code. It'll get you in. You walk around. When you're done, let me know if you have any questions, or I would just follow up and call them and kind of walk through like the next steps of them filling out an application. But COVID was really the big kickoff for us, like leaning into it. I think we would have gotten there anyways. A lot of places are starting to do that now. But really, we kind of focus on 3 things. So we'll do either in-person showings, depending on what territory we're in for a property, or if it's a property that's getting in the middle of like a rehab and it doesn't look the most ideal, we'll usually kind of have our leasing agents on site to really walk them through and sell them through the experience of like the next evolution of what the building's going to look like. If a building is already rehabbed, then we'll do the contactless showings. So again, property looks pretty, everything's looking great. Again, we give them really specific instructions about using the keyless entry code to go and check out the unit, and then we follow up and do the application after. And then we do hybrid showings as well, which is pretty much the combination of the second one, where we'll be on the phone when they arrive and they just want to make sure it's not a spam situation or they're not getting, scammed at all. So they'll end up being on the phone with us and we'll kind of talk them through the property as they go and show up. But those are kind of like the 3 things that we leveraged really based off of COVID. And it's been great. We've had another evolution in terms of our keyless entry. Our keyless entry now we use Brevo, which is the system. And that system allows us actually not to just give someone like the press code. Like the old one was like the turbo lock, like the rubber knob, like numbers. Yeah. So those ones you'd have to be on site and program them. Now with Brevo, you can, remotely program them and we can monitor stuff from our phone. So that one is nice. 2 things. It's nice for the showing side. It's also nice for the security side. So obviously, again, we're doing C-class multifamily, which we probably get to like a C+ B- type multifamily. But still, you're dealing with a certain clientele that, they may or may not be into things that we don't want to have on our property. And when we tell them like, hey, we have a camera over here and we have keyless entry, and the great thing about it is so secure, we can monitor like people coming in and out. When you use those buzzwords, if it's someone that's really trying to do something sketchy, they're probably not going to be a fit for our property, and they know that out the gate. So we don't get in bed with someone that's not going to be a great fit, and it's going to affect our community. So that's kind of on the keyless entry side. The other technology that we started to lean into, obviously AI is a big thing that everybody has buzzwords. There's a company called Elise AI, shout out to them. We started utilizing them, and what they do is they allow essentially communication to happen without someone having to pick up the phone. And what's wild is that it sounds like an actual real person. It's not like a press 1 to talk to leasing, press 2 to this. It's like, hello, thank you for calling Residence First Property Management. I'm leasing agent Emma with AI. This is a recorded call. How can I help you today? And it'll go right into the whole spiel of, oh, we're looking for a 1-bedroom. Oh, great. We have a 1-bedroom apartment available. When's your next availability for showing? Would you like to do an in-person showing? Would you like to do a contactless showing? So again, just always trying to stay ahead of the game and kind of use any type of leverage that we can at scale.
Now, what is the name of that program, the AI?
Yeah, it's called Elise AI. Elise AI.
Elise AI. Okay.
Yeah.
And is it meant specifically for property management?
So they do it for the hospital industry, and they also do it for real estate. Yeah, they do it for both. And the nice thing is, on top of even going past that, like we initially wanted them because we were like, well, we're in some of these territories, and what we're finding is that, we're running a company, we have our leasing agents, and they're great, but there does come a time where they need time off or they need hours off. Like it's a very big balancing act, because when I was in the position and I was doing most of the leasing, I'm working until 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm on Facebook Marketplace at 1 o'clock in the morning talking to someone about leasing an apartment. And there's no way that I'm going to have anybody as passionate about filling a unit as I am, because it's money coming out of my pocket. So
sure.
We were like, there's got to be a better way. We've used call centers before, which those helped a little bit. But again, we still felt like we just didn't have enough control over it. This allows us to see like the transcription. So when they call in or they text in or they message in, it transcribes the whole conversation. So we have a report that we can look back and we see like where they fell off, if they did a tour, if they didn't do a tour, where we need to follow back up with them. But on top of which, it does a lot of our other stuff. So maintenance requests. We can have our current residents go on, they'll send a message like, hey, my sink's leaking. And they'll say, okay, like, it'll respond back and it'll be like, is this an emergency type situation? Like, is it dripping down into the next unit? Or is this something that we can push off and have someone come out to tomorrow to do? Oh, yeah, it's not an emergency. Okay, great. I submitted your ticket and we'll be out within the next 48 hours to repair it. So it does maintenance, it does leasing, it does renewals. So anybody that's coming up on renewals, like 90 days out, it'll say, hey, your lease is about to expire. Are you thinking about renewing with us? What can we do better? Like, it'll follow up with that. At the end of the maintenance one also, it does say like, how did we do? So that we start building up our Google reviews, which is great. And then the one that's my favorite is delinquencies, because following up with people and trying to get paid is brutal sometimes. This thing works 365, no holidays, no time off. It's calling, texting, emailing. Hey, you're late on your rent. You need to pay. Hey, you're late on your rent. We're going to be going through eviction soon. Hey, and it goes through that. So it's been a really good tool, and I feel like we've only kind of scratched the surface with it. We've been using it probably for about 4 months, I'd say 5 months. But yeah, so those are kind of some of like the tech stack that we currently use that I feel like is a little
well, the sweet thing about that is if you're frontline customer service, you're a human being, you're going to get agitated at some point and respond in a way that probably isn't the most professional. Whereas when you have an AI and somebody isn't going to pay their rent and they want to get agitated at you, the AI just listens and says, well, I certainly can appreciate that feedback.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
As opposed to, giving it back to them and say, well, I got mad. Matt, I'm sorry about that. Or I'm mad, Michael. Sorry. It's just AI. It just sits there and it takes it. Let me ask you, any of the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, our customer service agents too. I mean, they said that right out the gate, like starting to lean in and use it, is probably saved them 10 hours a week of just, nonsense follow-ups with people, like going through the list and calling, sending messages. Like, it's just tedious. If you can get ahead and kind of wipe out 90% of that headache and then just follow up with like the 10% that's still lingering around, it just makes people aware, like they can't just like run off the leash. Like if someone's not paying and then nobody's following up with them, they're like, well, they're not paying attention to me, so I don't have to really worry about me making my payment. Whereas this is just constantly reminding them like, hey, somebody is paying attention. Somebody knows that you're not paying. Like, you got to figure this out.
Sure. Front of mind awareness.
Yeah.
Interesting. Have you guys ever had a situation, because you said you're in, you C to B properties or C minus properties. Have you ever run into a situation where you had to evict a fair amount of people, or it was known as a bad property and the police were coming all the time, anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we're not buying a property that has bad reputation, then we're not making any money. So no, I think, Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the properties that we, so Granite Place was, Zach, have you been up to Granite Place or like the old Northgate up in Rochester?
No. Is that the Rochester one? No, I haven't been there.
So that one, when we first bought that property, I think it was like 400 first responder calls, I think, like in a year.
Wow. How many units?
I mean, now granted, it's 111 units,
okay.
I mean, it's
duplex.
When you say first responder calls, like I'm talking about, like it's just drug activity, prostitution, like it's aggressive. That one, we actually purchased it. We ended up getting private security for the first 4 months because it was just out of control. Yeah, they let the inmates run the asylum on that one. But that was like an extreme case. But to your point, though, yeah, even our smaller buildings, when we first bought them, usually, again, if they're C-class, most of the time it's a long-term owner that's not really paying attention too much to it, which that's where, the value can come in, or where we can increase the value, right? Like they're just having rents that are $700 a month that are cheap. We know that they should be at least $300 more increase. And those people are just running amok because the person's like, well, I'm getting paid my $700. I have low debt on it. I don't really care. They're not even really paying attention to maintenance that much. And they don't have to, because even the residents understand that they're way below market in what they're paying. So they can't really ask for too much, or they don't even care to ask for too much to sound the alarms. So yeah, we have gone through a bunch of evictions. But one thing that was nice is when we first started in New Hampshire, and funny enough, our company was called Commonwealth Collective because we were all from Massachusetts, and we thought we were going to invest in the state of Commonwealth. That's why it was called Commonwealth Collective. But glad we didn't do that, because that would have been a nightmare. So when we came to New Hampshire, we realized, evictions, like they only take about a month and a half. And again, kind of pivoting back to self-management, we didn't have enough money to hire attorneys to do evictions. So guess who did the evictions?
Oh, you had to do it?
This guy. Yeah,
I did one by myself. Yeah.
I learned real quick how to do evictions. Yeah.
You go to the courthouse and everything, file the paperwork. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they were like, the average is like between $800 to $1,200 per eviction. I was like, I feel like we're looking at like 2 or 3 a month. We can't afford this. Let me see if I can just do it. And it wasn't that hard. It's actually pretty easy process. It's a little tedious, but it's pretty easy. We still keep it in house too, even to this day. Like we have people on our team that just run it. But
for New Hampshire, or some of the other states must be.
Some of the other states you can't. So Ohio, we have attorneys that do it, but we kind of we do it as much as we can. So you can do a couple variations. Like in New Hampshire, we run it all the way through. Ohio and Missouri, we drop off at least letters. Like we don't have the attorney go and drop off letters, because that's just an hour of that's monkey business. Anybody can kind of drop that off. Texas, the same thing. We do some stuff on our own, and then we do some filing on our own. And where we need to have an attorney, we will. But for the most part, it's all kind of in-house.
Now, when you're looking, you said that you named it Commonwealth, and now you're glad that you don't have doors in the Commonwealth. Mm-hmm. When you're looking for new markets, do you look for ones that are landlord friendly?
Yes. Red states.
Yeah.
Red states, which unfortunately what we realized is that in Ohio, that's a red state, but we're kind of in a purple market. So that one's a little bit of a gray area. But overall, yeah, we're red states, which is very landlord friendly. So usually most of the places that we invest in, I would say it's probably a month and a half to 2 months for an eviction. Texas is crazy. It's like 4 days or whatever it is. It's wild. And then Texas is also crazy too, because we found out that you can, depending on how much they're behind on rent, you can actually go into their unit and you can commandeer like something that's of close to that value. So you can actually go in and you can take a TV off the wall and you can put it into storage, and then they have to pay you the rent, and then you can give it back to them.
Wow, you can collateralize it yourself. I've never heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah, we learned that when we didn't know either, but when we first got into that territory, that was like one of the things that you could you can get nitty gritty in Texas.
That's wild.
Texas is very much into property owner rights. I lived in Texas for a couple of years, and they're not messing around. When they say don't come on my property, they're not kidding.
Yeah. Really, the only thing you can't take is obviously anything that was prohibit them from doing work. So you couldn't take a laptop, because generally most people are using their laptops for work.
I see.
You can't take car keys or block their car or anything like that. But anything that's usually the TV is the go-to, or a video game console or something like
the
that.
Checkbook.
Yeah. Well, it's a gray area. I like where your head's at, though.
Zach, you'd be good at this. Wait a minute, that's a home dialysis machine? Sorry, ma'am. You gotta pay your rent. Eat better.
Sleep apnea.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So switching gears a little bit more, one thing we talked about a little bit before is I understand your wife still has her W-2 job and she loves doing that. And so how'd that go when you had a W-2 job and then all of a sudden you're like, let's do this real estate thing? And I'm sure it put a dent in your finances and you had to go through all that. And yeah.
What's interesting, I guess my story is not that spectacular because I actually was with someone prior to like going full time into real estate. And so I ended up ending that relationship going into this role. So there was when I met my wife, I was already kind of doing this. So she knew,
I see. Okay.
She knew a little bit more what she was getting into. It was still a little weird though, because we were talking and like our first date that we were supposed to have, I was like, oh, well, actually, like my friend's in a country band. She was going to be doing a set down at the beach. And I was like, oh, I'm actually like doing my retirement party. So if you don't want to come, like we can hang out. And she was like, retirement party? I don't know. But essentially, it was just me leaving my Yeah, it was me leaving my W-2 job, and she didn't show up for that date, by the way. So
that's funny.
But we kept talking, and then kind of fast forward, like she was pretty comfortable with like what I was doing. I was already pretty established at that point anyway. Like I already had my 3 family, and then I had to your point, Mike, I did have a condo at one point that I was living in at the time. COVID happened, and then that condo just had a lot of deferred maintenance, and the condo association wasn't great. So I decided to end up selling that, and we rolled that into our primary house that we have in Wyndham, New Hampshire. So it all worked out. But yeah, she was on board from the start, and now she's a real estate investor as well. Nice. She has her own, pretty much the property that she had in North Andover was a duplex. She owned one side of it. So she's renting that out, and that helps us with our living expenses for here. So. And now she's looking for more Airbnbs, and we're looking at motels and crazy stuff. So,
oh, cool. That's cool that she's that on board, to do some of her own investing. A lot of times it's like, just do your thing.
Yeah, I think it helped too, because a lot of my inner circle was a lot of like real estate investors or agents or, just people that were in real estate. So it wasn't as hard, I feel like, to digest as like someone coming in like completely novice, like renting apartments and not knowing like the world of like home ownership or anything. So, and obviously she also came from a great family in terms of like finance. Her dad was an accountant, so she kind of understands a little bit of that world too. So
that's cool. So let me ask, you went into property management. I'm just circling back slightly. Mm-hmm. For me as a lender, I want to lend, and I don't want to deal with tenants, toilets, and termites. What do you think it is that makes that an appeal to you and something that you want to deal with? Now, I understand you want to have it in-house, and I get that. I like the Steve Jobs model at Apple of controlling the hardware and the software so that you control the whole experience for the user. So that I understand. Mm-hmm. But as an owner having to deal with it, it sounds like you're very much involved on the day-to-day. How do you deal with that?
Well, I would say that now I'm not as involved in the day-to-day.
Okay.
So now we're at a point where we do have staff members. So as I mentioned, we have a couple different roles. So we have resident care representatives. Those are like our RCRs. Those are the ones that handle like the customer service, any maintenance requests that come in. Usually go to maintenance people, but sometimes they'll oversee that and they'll communicate with the resident and let them know someone's going to be going into their unit. Or they'll also handle the eviction stuff. They'll just handle all the customer service stuff. Then we have leasing agents, or our LAs. So they handle all the leasing, all the marketing for our apartments at this point. And then we have our BOGs, which are usually like our maintenance boots on the ground people. Those are kind of like our key functions of like our property management that me, Mike, and Hannah used to kind of facilitate and I'll help and manage. I used to do most of the tenant facing stuff. Right. Hannah did like a lot of the HR, the lender forms, like all the banking, all the nuanced stuff that Mike and I are not organized enough to do. And then obviously Mike's really good at talking. So he would end up talking to guys like Zach about, hey, what favorable terms can we work with today, Zach? So that's kind of the dynamic of how we started. But yeah, now at this point, we have staff members that are in there overseeing. We have a VP of our company, Adam Johnson, and he oversees making sure like everybody in the different sectors are performing the way they need to. We have scorecards to monitor like if our staff members are doing what they need to. So it was one of those things that evolved into a full company. Instead of us just being real estate investors, now we're like real estate. We're a real estate company. Like we actually own a company that invests in real estate. And so now it's not so much us handling the day to day of, okay, is this unit lease, but it's more me and Mike like looking on the acquisition side, like what's the next territory we want to go? Do we just want to scale in this market? And then also other businesses. We're starting to get into a little bit of hospitality. So we have a couple of deals that are in the pipeline that deal a little bit more on the Airbnb side. So we're starting to create verticals out of the stuff that we've already developed insight in over the years. And yeah, so it's just really exciting kind of where we've come. But to answer your question, yeah, not so much day to day on like the property management side. It's more of just like kind of overseeing, more of like a board is what we kind of call it, so to speak.
Gotcha. I'm going to switch gears slightly because you talked about Airbnb. Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of areas like New York, if I'm not mistaken, New York City doesn't allow the Airbnbs anymore, mm-hmm. If I'm correct. So, all right, you also mentioned earlier about getting motels, hotels. Have you ever considered a situation where because it's already licensed for it, you turn a motel into an Airbnb, where you get 15 different units, but it's already licensed for it, so there's no blowback?
Yeah, that would definitely be the play. That's kind of the idea. I mean, again, same thing. We wouldn't invest in anywhere that's usually anytime you're going to invest in Airbnb, you got to do your research. You got to know your markets. Like my wife and I have been looking at South Carolina a lot. And unfortunately, South Carolina just is not the most friendly state. It goes by like different towns. Certain towns will allow you to do it. Certain towns have a limited amount of certifications that you can do to use for actually running an Airbnb. So that's not really like a play that we've decided to go down. But we're looking at different areas. Like right now, the ones that we own 4 Airbnbs currently up in Kennebunkport, Maine, or Kennebunk, Maine. So it's a summer destination. Those are the same thing. There's only this kind of a certain amount of people that can run them, but as long as you provide your information, which we've never had an issue. And this was when we started investing there, that was prior to them, putting the initiative out where the state wants or the city wants to get extra revenue for no reason, essentially. But yeah, so we started investing there, and the summer season is just crazy up there. But to your point, though, yes, we would, generally speaking, like a motel or a hotel, we would probably run more Airbnb-wise. Again, same systems that we do for our normal multifamily. Keyless entry on it, and then you have a direct booking website, but then you also have it on Airbnb, and you just rent out individual units. Not so much having someone on site for a check-in, but just really trying to go overboard with different amenities that people are looking for these days. Saunas, hot tubs, pickleball courts, pools, like all those things are going to really drive traffic to your spot over the competitor down the street.
Absolutely. So do you guys have a long-term plan as to how many doors you ultimately want to have and then maybe do an exit? Or do you not have a plan that far down the road?
So our plan for 2026 right now, as Zach mentioned, we're at about 150 million assets under management. Our goal for 2026 is to get. So we're trying to double. So that doesn't really, we're not necessarily looking at the door count. It's more so the assets under management count. And then, yeah, I mean, for the most part, we're buy and hold people. So we're not really trying to sell. However, what we have noticed is that over the years, like when we first started buying properties in Manchester, New Hampshire, we had the edge because you were buying stuff pretty cheap. And then you were putting some work into it. You were pumping up the numbers, and then the value was, exponentially more than what you paid for it. Now what we're noticing is that the replacement cost, it just like we have these older buildings in Manchester that we're like, all right, well, does it make sense to start selling some of the stuff? Because now you could pivot it into a newer asset. And we're starting to think about like ground up development up in New Hampshire and Manchester, New Hampshire, just because, the brand new cost of construction is about the same as what it costs per square foot of like selling a building, like the older buildings now. It's wild.
Yeah, and if you get something brand new and not built in 1910, that's
exactly
kind of tempting, right?
Without the deferred maintenance of tenants that are complaining about certain. Again, we try to go in and we go behind the walls and we do really try and fix like basic plumbing issues that will be a headache down the road, which I think a lot of people don't do. They put like lipstick on a pig, like internally. They do some painting, some cabinets, then they don't really fix a lot of like the root issues that tenants are going to complain about when the ceiling's dripping because someone's toilet overflowed or a bathtub overflowed or whatever the case is. So we try and mitigate a lot of that stuff. But yeah, again, with those older buildings, water just seems to find a way sometimes.
Well, I didn't explain my background, but my second company was a restoration company, fire, water,
okay.
vehicle impact. So we loved old buildings like that. They made us very happy.
I'll bet. Yeah, those are all the calls that you get. Yeah.
And what we used to like is what you're describing is when it comes from a ceiling and it comes down. Well, now we're talking at a class 3 loss. Those are very expensive. Those are wonderful losses.
Yeah,
it just means
absolutely.
more air movers, and you just leave them in there for a little bit longer. So those made us very happy.
Yeah, not so much us, but luckily, like I said, we haven't had really any nightmare stories in terms of like water damage like that for the most part. Yeah, we go in, we do it right the first time, so at least we'll get 7 to 8 years out of any deferred type of maintenance, and then as turnovers happen and things happen, then you have to go in and do some fixes. But again, some of our older products, we're starting to think about peeling those off and rolling it into a little bit better product or just a bigger product.
Sure. We only have a couple minutes left, so I just want to switch gears a little bit one more time. And you guys have gotten more into education recently. I know you guys started the Mastermind and the club down there in Manchester. So talk about, like, I'm sure you didn't set out to start something like this. Did you get to a point where you realized that, oh, maybe we have something that we want to share or want to be around more like-minded people, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I think that just came from going to like the real estate meet. Like initially when we first started, we were going to real estate meetups because obviously Bigger Pockets told you like, hey, you got to get in the room, you got to talk to people that are in the industry, you got to pick their brain, try and see if you can buy them a coffee, try and add value to whatever they're doing. So you just kind of learn a little bit. So we did that. Like we were going to those, and then we were like, well, I don't know, maybe we should just run our own real estate meetup. We know like people that are starting to buy property up here. We know a couple of the business owners up here, so we can host one at the local bar or restaurant. So we did that, and it wasn't so much like an education. It was just more of we're hosting it, but we're just networking type situation. And then from there, Mike, obviously his background was in academics, so he was teaching at Lawrence High and he was an admin there for he got to administration there, pretty high up, and he was teaching. And I think that's kind of where it started to fold. It was like, well, we can start coaching and guiding people on some of the mistakes that we've made and just make it just an easier process. And I think that, had we had more of a mentorship going through what we did, we wouldn't have made the mistakes we did. And I think it's just our way of kind of giving back people starting out. So that's kind of where it transpired. It's mostly, again, Mike's always loved teaching and coaching. Even I remember like back in the day, like there was a flag football team that we had a group of our friends and he used to coach that. Like he's just always been that type of person that's been like that leader coach type thing. So yeah, it's just kind of been a way that we folded into it. And then, yeah, to your point, we had the standard, which we have the vault coming up. Did you get an invite to the vault?
Yes, I did. Can't wait.
Did Mike get an invite to the vault?
Well,
I live a little further away. I live in Idaho.
That's no excuse. You can hop on a plane. Well, no excuses here. No excuses, Mike. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so the vault's very exciting. It's going to be our new like co-op spot, so we're pretty excited about that. But again, cool. Yeah, it's just the opportunity to kind of lean in, show what we know, and then obviously the best part about that, and honestly, like even martial arts, like I've been doing jiu-jitsu a long time, and I'll roll with like guys that are like lower ranks, and you always learn something new. It might not be like an experience move or it's not an experience thing, but it's like this minor nuance thing that you just didn't know. I mean, again, to my point about Texas, like going down there, I had no idea you could take a TV off someone's wall.
Yeah, right. That alone is worth it.
And that's not somebody that's like a property manager. Like they're not a property manager at all. They just were someone that we were talking to, networking with, and they're like, yeah, like if you do X, Y, and Z, and we're like, really? So you through just conversations and meeting people, you just learn so much. So again, that's kind of how we got into the whole coaching and leadership thing. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, all right, go ahead, Mike.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying we're pretty much towards the end. If people need to get a hold of you, would like to get a hold of you, Matt, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram if they want. My Instagram handle is MJ_Hitch, HITCH, 86, I believe. I don't use Instagram a ton, but they'll be able to find me if they type that in. And then email if they wanted to get a hold of me, which maybe you guys will put in the show notes or whatnot.
Yeah, we will. We'll put all this in the show notes.
First initial, last name @cc-rei.com.
Awesome.
Mike, this has been, Matt, I'm sorry, this has been a great call. I really appreciate your time. This was fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. This is awesome.